Welcome everyone to the Screen Sermon Podcast, and I just gotta say that fucking off the cuff Screen Sermon is my favorite Screen Sermon, and it's usually reserved for coming soon episodes. But today, it's the Boon. It's the Boon as always. Boon is here, and I'm here with Josh. Hi, Josh.
Hello. We're just fucking nuking the Iguana 23 right here in the Terminator episode.
I am because I fucking hate the nickname. It's stupid.
That's fine. I've explained before that I think that it's fucking counterintuitive to keep doing this, as funny as it is. But we got a fucking Boon, Inky, and Josh situation going on now.
Which is funny in its own way. But I fucking love... Honestly, I think it's therapeutic. I think there's catharsis involved when it's just you and me, just off the cuff. And so I really look forward to our coming soon episodes, and I have a feeling that tonight's episode is going to be like that too. And I gotta be honest, I drank a little bit before we started recording today. And I just feel like that's going to help me be a little loose because my home situation is fucked up, and so I'm just looking forward to having a conversation with you about a fun movie. So yeah, we're here basically because we did our coming soon episode last week, and then we got into a conversation, I don't know, a couple months ago, where Josh is involved and is very much studying and learning and trying to get into the business as it pertains to movie makeup and effects and things like that. And so we got into this conversation about Terminator, and for some reason or another, Terminator and Terminator 2 are just films that have never crossed your path. And so we wanted to use the Screen Sermon platform as an excuse to get you to finally watch Terminator and Terminator 2, which is why this week's episode is what it is, and next week we'll cover T2. And I'm fucking jazzed because I love these movies. And so I'm really hoping that you also love them, but completely understand if you don't, I guess. But we'll get into that. But yeah, man, I'm just happy to have you on. I'm happy to just kind of like letting it loose this week with you and having a platform for us to just have a fun conversation about fucking Terminator and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that fun stuff. So thanks for being on with me, and I guess let's just open it up. Like, first reaction, like how did you dig it? Like, how did you take this film?
It sort of went against my expectations because there's a lot of Terminator ingrained in pop culture, and as I came to find out, I think it's more so along the lines of T2 that I was getting than the original Terminator, because I don't give a fuck what anyone says. This was a horror movie.
Yes.
This is a slasher.
I agree wholeheartedly.
This big action movie, and I got that, but sure. I think fucking this is a horror movie as much as Alien is.
Yes, I agree. And honestly, from what I was reading, like, James Cameron intended for this to be a horror film, and I think after some audiences and stuff like that had viewed it and things like that, people were talking to him about, like, well, how does it feel that you made this big action movie? And he's like, what? Like, I made the Stalker, like, unstoppable killer movie that, I was kind of like jumping into that genre, and then basically people giving him feedback on this film about how he made this amazing action film is what ended up influencing the rest of his career, and he just kind of became the action movie guy. And yeah, I mean, it is both of those things. It's an incredible action movie. There's a lot of stunts in it. There's lots of car shit in it, blowing shit up and all that kind of stuff. But this is absolutely a horror movie too.
It's been one of my my 3 unseen action movies. I have this nice little triangle of movies that I'll get to all on the pod.
Sure.
It was Terminator, Rambo, and RoboCop was the fucking third one.
What about Die Hard?
I was gonna watch that this past Christmas, but I didn't get to due to unforeseen circumstances. So that'll be a fucking needs to see episode like next December probably.
Yeah, I think we need to tentatively just book that ahead of time as part of our holiday series next December. I think that's a perfect idea. Let's throw that in there.
So yeah, that'll definitely be there. But I didn't have that with the 3 because I have that listed with my like Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Fucking Lethal Weapon 2.
I haven't seen Lethal Weapon in forever, but yes, I mean, it's another one that I think we should absolutely tackle. I fucking love Terminator, and I thought, when I was thinking about Terminator, I mean, specifically T2, but also, I mean, the original is so good, and as an effects man, and as a makeup man, I figured there's a lot of elements in this that I think Josh would really like. And maybe it's more oriented toward the sequel, but anyway, I thought that there was stuff in the first one too that you would kind of dig. And so yeah, like now we've finally gotten you to the point where, you know, you've seen the first one, so now you've got kind of the setup, and the second one is absolutely more bombastic, and we just kind of go whole hog when we get the T2 next week. But as a setup, and just to kind of get you ingrained in the franchise. And let me be very clear, like, I am not a franchise fan of Terminator. I've seen the first, second, and third ones. And then I didn't see the other ones except for Dark Fate, I think. So, like, Salvation and Genesis, I didn't see. And Dark Fate with the guy from fucking Pet Sematary. I forget the actor's name, but he was the dad in Pet Sematary. He plays John Connor in that movie, and he's like, it's very strange.
I was waiting for the John Connor reveal the whole fucking movie, because I could have sworn that was like a character that you got to see.
Yes, not in the first one.
Evidently not, because I was like, oh, well, is fucking Kyle Reese gonna be revealed as John Connor, but he was doing some bullshit the whole time, but no, he just never appeared in the movie.
That would have been a cool reveal that I would have never even thought about until you just said that.
Well, we're just gonna fucking bounce around this episode, I think.
Yeah.
When fucking Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor had sex, I was like, oh, well, is that the making of John? Or, like, is that, like, maybe that's his father?
Yeah.
But, no, that didn't happen either. He's just a soldier who's, you know, on a mission. There was no twist. I was waiting for a twist.
But that was the making of John.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, fuck. That went right over me then.
Well, it's like, it's heavily, I mean, he ends up being, it's so convoluted, but like, Sarah Connor sleeps with Kyle Reese when he gets sent into the past to keep her safe.
But then
she ends up getting him
by John?
He got sent by John to protect Sarah, and in so doing, impregnates Sarah with John.
That doesn't make sense.
It's very strange. But, and then, so that makes me think, well, no, we know that that's the case because Sarah records those tapes at the end of the film and says, I'm going to tell you about your father. And she's talking about Kyle. She says his name, Kyle, and all this other stuff. So John Connor knew that Kyle was his father. And but so he knew that he had to send him back.
But how was the first John Connor born?
I don't know. You know what, though? They also say that it's one of many possible futures. So maybe in a different past, a different version of the past, John Connor had a different dad.
I don't like Terminator anymore.
But so don't dislike Terminator. Just dislike time travel, because whenever time travel gets introduced into anything, it gets very convoluted. But like, think about it this way: Kyle Reese teaches Sarah Connor how to be a soldier.
Yes.
But John Connor taught Kyle Reese how to be a soldier.
Yes.
But Sarah Connor taught John Connor how to be a soldier.
You lost me. There has to be a kicking off point, and there's not that.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think there was a bunch of stuff in there about how they had a rough outline about how the time travel science was supposed to work.
Well, they
and then
fucked it up at some point.
Well, they pitched it. I think they pitched it to like actual scientists and said like, this is what we're going to do in the movie. Like, this is in the script and this is how we're going to explain it. And the scientists literally looked at it and said, this doesn't make any sense. It's better if you just say nothing. Like, leave it vague about how it works.
I would love to be a fucking fly on the wall when that moves. So here's our plan. And then the scientist is reading the script and then goes, so this movie's about sending your dad back in time to fuck your mom?
To make you? And to train her so that she can train you even though you trained him? In the modern time, or in current time? How the fuck does that make sense?
I think it's worth noting that not only is this a, I think, film franchise,
I think it's 6.
6? It's also got video games, television series. Another reason why we're covering this is because the anime got announced.
Oh, that's right. Fuck. Yeah. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah.
That was another reason why
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I look forward to that. And then there's the fucking TV shows like the Sarah Connor Chronicles and a bunch of fucking comic books.
Starring Summer Glau, who I was a big fan of in Firefly.
Well, fortunately, we're not doing TV yet, so you can't help me to watch Firefly.
It's one season. Get over yourself.
Is it
wouldn't take long.
Season?
It's one season, man. That's it.
People are all fucking up in arms about this one season TV show that apparently is that damn good.
Yep. I think it's like 12 episodes, and that's it. That's all it got.
What the fuck has such a fan base for then?
It's a really good show. But I mean, it's so... it's unfinished. Like, there's so many questions left. And then they did the movie, of course, that was supposed to kind of wrap it all up, and that wasn't very satisfying. So, yeah. One season. It's a good fucking show. I bought the DVD set as soon as it came out. I mean, I was that guy.
Oh, more power to you. Well, we'll do... I still want to incorporate TV into the show at some point, but...
I do too. I wish we could think of a good way to do it.
Go about it is.
I don't either, because the current way that we format things, it just makes sense where it's like, yeah, we watched a 90-minute or 2-hour film and we talk about it for an hour and 15 minutes and we move the fuck on. I like spending 8 to 10 hours on a series and then trying to condense it into an hour and a half conversation. I just don't know how the fuck we do that.
I mean,
and doing something with like 1, 2, 3, 5 parts, it is gonna just die. So yeah. I don't know.
I really don't. If we were to start with anything, and I know that you vetoed this in the past, but it's still on the table, an anthology series like American Horror Story, I feel like is much better to digest. But then again, that's a 10 episode per season, an hour piece, and that's fucking 10 hours of content.
Yeah, and then we have to whittle it down and cover it in an hour to an hour and a half.
I don't know.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fuck it.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to. I really do, because there's a lot of good TV series out there. I mean, I was this is completely off the Terminator, but I was very upset with myself for forgetting that True Detective's latest season was going to start in January, and that was not on my coming soon list. And I love that series. I think True Detective is awesome. The first season is still the best, but like, still looking forward to every time they come out with a new one. And I fucking forgot. But it's like, I would love to cover a series like that, but again, I don't know how to do it. I don't know. I'm not a good enough film and TV podcaster to figure out how to whittle it down to an hour to an hour and a half. So I don't know, but I want to. I want to figure it out.
On the fucking show, one of the ideas I had was to take like select Emmy-winning episodes of TV shows and then just do a fucking like mini 30-minute pod.
That's a good idea.
But that still requires seeing more of the show.
It's true. Yeah, you can't just watch the one episode and be like, I don't know who the fucking people are, but this was a good episode, I guess.
Yeah, I'm jumping right into season 9, episode 13 of the show I've never watched.
The fuck's 30 Rock? I don't know what this means. Yeah, it'd be weird.
Today on the Screen Sermon podcast, maybe I've been drinking too. Today on the Screen Sermon Podcast, we're covering the 3rd episode of Season 10 of Scrubs. Buckle the fuck up.
I hear Turk's a fucking hoot in this one. I don't know who Turk is, but I know that's his name. Hey, that's that guy from Clueless. Yeah, that would be me. So as it pertains to, like, I'm getting back to Terminator, sorry.
But the movie we're fucking talking about?
Yeah, that we're actually fucking covering. As it pertains to, so I guess I just kind of want to hit it, straight out the jump. Like, my whole thing about this was you're an effects guy, you're a makeup guy specifically. Yep. How did you feel about the makeup?
It was iffy in parts, but all in all, I think it was pretty good. I don't want to like give too much insight into the ongoing shit that I do. I mean, I'll talk about
that's
it,
funny.
I don't want to go like deep into like where and what, but one of the classes that's an option is doing essentially making the fucking it's like making realistic looking metal.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have examples of like it being done, and most of that is Terminator. So yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of good makeup. The only parts that was iffy was really there were a bunch of shots where when Arnie like fucking pulls his eye out, right?
Yes.
And he's looking in the mirror. It cuts to an animatronic head.
Yes, a puppet.
Yeah.
And so I read about that. And so, okay, here's what I don't get. At least I don't think I get it. And maybe you can shine some light on this. There are scenes later in the film where Arnold Schwarzenegger is in the semi-truck and he's had his face all fucked up from previous, combat encounter and things like that. And he's got like part of his endoskeleton cheek is showing, and he's got the red eye, and he's got like part of his forehead I think is fucked up too. And it's Arnold, but with prosthetics on his face. And it looks really, really good. Earlier in the film, when he's in that apartment that he broke into to do the eye surgery on himself and the hand surgery on himself, for some reason they didn't do the prosthetics to the face, and instead they did this weird puppet head that looks really unnatural and really unnerving, if I'm being honest. And from what I read, it took Stan Winston Studios 6 fucking months to make that puppet. And it looks like shit. It looks like absolute shit. Especially by comparison. I think that Arnie's natural face with the prosthetics put on there, you're like, holy shit, I thought that looked really great. Like, and he looks like a cyborg, and he looks like a man with an endoskeleton underneath. But when they focus on this fucking puppet head that they made with the eyeball, with the red eye, I thought it looked awful. And they shot around it a little bit, but there were, I think, 2 or 3 instances where they just show it head on, like full blown, and those were not great decisions. Like, why was so much time, and I know so much money spent on that animatronic, and then not figuring out another way to show it so that it doesn't look as bad as it does? Do you have any insight there?
I don't know for this film specifically, but as far as like making shit like that goes, the answer is probably going to be really unsatisfying. Is makeup's fucking hard.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah, I have no base.
There are times where you spend a lot of time working on this one thing, detailing and everything, and then all it takes is one tiny fuck up and it ruins the whole thing. So
yeah.
And if you're in time constraints, you start doing things slapdash. And I didn't read too much into it because I was hoping to do that after I watched T2 because I didn't want to spoil the experience for myself. But sure. I heard that this had a relatively small budget.
Yeah. I don't have exact numbers, but I'm going to find them. Yeah, and I definitely see from a budgetary or a time constraint standpoint that once you get involved in making something as complicated as that animatronic, that puppet head must have been, like once you get to a certain period of time, you're just looking at this thing like, we're gonna have to shoot this thing somehow. Because
that's how it fucking ends up more often than not. When you go to the movie, then you're like, that looks like shit. A lot of the times is for one reason or another is we don't have the time, money, or resources to do it again, so we're just working with what we got. They reused that fucking head in a couple more scenes. It just wasn't as noticeable. Like when he was driving the truck and the truck blew up, I noticed that it cut to that head real quick, and I think that I believe that the head was actually destroyed. It looked like it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know it got a few uses out of it, and then we'll circle back to the head in a minute. A little bit later, we finally got what I was waiting for, which was full I guess it's not an exoskeleton; it's on the inside.
Yeah, they say endoskeleton. Yeah.
Wouldn't that still be? Well, I guess that. Yeah. Okay. Endoskeleton.
Yeah, I think exoskeleton would be what's on the outside versus endo, which is what's on the inside.
An endoskeleton just a fucking skeleton, but whatever.
Like we all have an endoskeleton.
Like isn't the
it's in there
the fucking standard? But anyway, it skips to what it looks like stop motion. I'm fairly certain it's stop motion.
There's absolutely stop motion in this film. Yes.
Yeah, you can tell by the movements. But it does not look like stop motion at all otherwise.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Straight up metal. And stop motion, which is something I'm a huge fan of. Del Toro fucking does that, and I love it.
So does Ray Harryhausen. Shout out, I love Ray Harryhausen.
That's what it reminded me of. It's a skeleton stop motion, very Jason and the Argonauts.
Very much so.
Fuck was I saying?
It's really good looking.
Yeah, so it's something that another thing that I wanted to dip my toes into, but it's a huge amount of work. It takes forever.
It sounds tedious.
It is. It takes forever to get shit done. And shout out to anybody who fucking does that shit, because you're just working with very tiny, fragile sculpts. Like it's there's way less room for error. So the fact that they had that looking like straight up metal is why there's fucking classes on how to make shit look like straight up metal.
It makes sense.
It's not the easiest.
I obviously have no baseline, so like I'm reading about the effects in this film and about how Stan Winston created and his team, of course, created an entire metal puppet that they could operate in order to show the endoskeleton after all the flesh gets burned off of it and stuff. And they intermixed that with the stop motion. So a lot of the time you're seeing the upper half of the T-800 endoskeleton moving toward Linda Hamilton and fucking Michael Biehn. And it's... You never really see... Like, you'll see the legs moving separately, like in specific shots that are showing its feet, like coming up the stairs and stuff like that, or you'll see the torso and the head as it's kind of like stalking toward. You never see the full body. When you see the full body, it's stop motion. It's a puppet that they made, like a small sculpt puppet that they use stop motion on. But Stan Winston went and made an entire upper body torso version of the puppet out of metal, and then realizing just how much of an undertaking that was, because it was so fucking heavy that the poor guy that had to strap it on and basically move it, and then the puppeteers that were moving the head and the eyes and all that other stuff, it sounded like an incredible undertaking. But the outcome that you get, it looks so good. I think the effects really come on at the end in that plant that they end up in, that facility that they end up getting chased in. That's when the effects are really starting to hit hard and really hit their stride.
Yeah, another class that's an option is the metalworking. It's usually used for like prop armor, but even though it's not like actual heavier metals, you're still like essentially fucking welding.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show how much goes into filmmaking and how much of a pain in the ass it is. So even if you're watching, and which is another reason why I watch shitty schlock movies, because you know, at the end of the day, I don't care how shitty your movie is, whether it's, you know, fucking Titanic or whether it's Blood and Honey. at the end of the day, you made a movie, and that's
Sure.
something to be proud of. Usually, unless it's
Absolutely. Well, and how much shit goes into making films that goes unsung, right? Or in my case, like, I'm fucking ignorant. I mean, I'm less ignorant, I think, than the lay person as to filmmaking and what goes into it. I do a podcast about appreciating and the things that we still like about movies that we don't like, right? Like, we do this show to still talk about the merits of a film, even if we don't necessarily love the movie. And so we're not the lay person. But if you were to take things from a lay person, like, they don't fucking care about the cinematography, they don't know about what kind of efforts go into the effects department and things like that. They're just here to be entertained. And unfortunately, yes, like, this has tainted my movie going experience for the rest of my life. But I do think about these things, and even though I'm ignorant to the point where I consider and say, like, I don't even have an understanding of how much time it would take to do that, I still have an appreciation factor. Like, that took somebody or a team of somebody's a long time to make that. And unfortunately, it looks like shit. Or, hey, it looks great. Or it's kind of a combination of the two. Some scenes it doesn't look so good, and some scenes it does. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's a fucking accomplishment to be able to put, 80 minutes of a film down and say, like, hey, we did it. Like, we had a team of people that did it, and we pulled it off. And not everybody always talks about, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to do this, I want to do that. But a small percentage of people actually get to sign off and say, like, yeah, I fucking actually did it. Love it or hate it, I did it.
Yeah, I find myself in a situation where I could actively shit all over something, but still appreciate, like, well, you still fucking made something.
Absolutely.
Like,
I've never made a fucking thing other than this podcast. Like, I've creatively never made a thing. It's a.
I brought it up before. I don't think it was on the pod. I think it was privately, but when they did the fucking Barbie movie and all that set design, and that's not even a spoiler. The set design of that movie is fucking amazing. I mean, I'm on record being a fan of that movie, but goddamn, there's actually a shortage of pink because of that fucking movie.
It's amazing. I still haven't watched it yet. I know it's on Max, and my wife has actually expressed some interest in seeing it, but it's not like
if you don't like
an urgent
movie,
thing.
I think I will actually be angry.
I think I will eventually watch it because my wife wants to see it. But I mean, outside of that, I wanted to see it too, just because. I mean, partially because of your enthusiasm about the project in general, but just, it's out there, right? It's in the zeitgeist. I'm interested in seeing, what the big deal is and stuff. So I wanted to peep it out, and I just haven't done it yet, but I need to.
As it stands, because my cutoff hasn't happened yet. As it stands, it's currently my second favorite movie of 2023. So, fuck yeah, Barbie.
After what? What was your one? Across the Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. Okay. So that's the effects, right? So let's talk about the film as itself, right? So this has been. Oh yeah. I mean, there's plenty to talk about the effects. Go ahead.
Actually, it's not even effect. It's just like the movie starts. And one of the first fucking things I see is naked Arnold Schwarzenegger with his fucking big dick wobbling around.
Yeah, he's got a big old Austrian dick.
Was that a double, or was that just him hanging dung? Because it's low budget, so that makes me question.
I didn't read anything about him having a body double.
All right.
I know he had a stunt double, but not a body double. And there was no stunts happening in that scene other than his dick hitting his thighs, which is potentially dangerous.
I mean, they fucking... nowadays, they have, like, intimacy coordinators, which, by the way... Another unsung part of filmmaking. If you're gonna have shit on screen, please make sure the performers are comfortable.
Yeah.
It avoids a lot of the shit that we've heard coming out in recent years, unfortunately. Sure.
Yeah.
But it's also so bizarre to fucking see Arnold Schwarzenegger's dick less than a month after watching him in Jingle All the Way. Can't fucking watch that movie the same again.
Well, it's just fun. Like, I was thinking about, like, like Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn's sex scene later in the film, like you see Linda Hamilton's breasts, and I'm like, does she have a body double? I don't remember this happening. It's been a while since I've seen this flick, and I couldn't remember that about having. So clearly, it didn't have an impact on me when I was younger. But like now thinking about it, I was like, I don't remember ever seeing Linda Hamilton's breasts before. And so I'm sitting there like, I know it's a weird thing to look up, but I'm like, did she have a body double? Did she have somebody stand in for it? And I never found anything out about it. But yeah, to that point, the intimacy coordinator, that's a very recent thing, isn't it?
They've been a thing, I think, under a different name, but they're starting to become the norm. Thankfully, after so many disgusting practices through the years.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, we just talked about not too long ago Starlet, where there's actually people just getting their dick sucked by porn stars on fucking camera.
There's a full-blown porn scene in the middle of that film. Yep.
But I will say, if there was anyone to trust with that, it would be Sean Baker, given his leanings towards highlighting sex workers and other underrepresented voices and everything. He seems like, I'm not the authority on this, I don't fucking know him personally, but he seems like the kind of guy who would make sure everybody comfortable.
You mean that fucking Sean Baker's #1 fan badge is not real?
I'm not the leading authority on Sean Baker. Unfortunately.
And just a caveat on that, we will get back to the Sean Baker arc in a couple of weeks when we tackle the Florida Project. But we got to get through our Terminator and T2 flicks first. So how did you take... So one thing that I think now that I've rewatched Terminator and thinking about Terminator 2, and I know you haven't seen it yet, I think that one thing Terminator 2 is missing is Kyle Reese, because there isn't one. There's not somebody that's like Kyle Reese in T2, and I think he's fucking great. I think Michael Biehn's great in this film, and I love Kyle Reese as the foil to the Terminator, because he is a capable soldier, but he is a very he's the very kind of unrefined version, where the Terminator is highly efficient and very powerful and very strong, and he's kind of the scrappy, like, I'm gonna put together whatever I can, homemade explosives and all this other shit. So but I dug Michael Biehn as Kyle Reese, and like him as the protagonist, joining in Sarah Connor's plight. So what did you think of Kyle Reese?
Disappointed to learning that he's not going to be in the next movie. He this very necessary character. You needed. I mean, you have two people coming back in time at the same time, one good, one bad. By the way, I was under the impression that Terminator was the good guy and he was fighting other robots, but I guess that's later.
That'll make more sense.
I didn't realize that he was the antagonist. Yeah. I knew that there was only one in the first movie, but I thought that there was, like, he would be... I thought that he was going to flip to being the good guy at some point, but that just didn't happen. This was essentially sci-fi Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. I mean, he's essentially Jason with guns. It's very true. Man, I don't think... I mean, I think that Arnold Schwarzenegger gets a lot of credit from general movie audiences as like, oh, he's the fucking Terminator, but I don't think people give him enough credit for being the Terminator. Because, man, he was good in that role. And really good as the T-800 in general, across the film franchise. The first three, I mean... The third Terminator movie is definitely a mixed bag. There are some incredible action scenes, like set piece moments in that movie. Overall, it kind of sucks in general, but there are some redeeming qualities in that third film. The first and the second one are fucking classics and should go down in film history.
This movie and turn it into a franchise and make it shit, because that's more fucking impressive than anything.
Terminator and T2 are incredible. the third one is, and this is a weird pull, and so I'm thankful to all of my gamer people out there. Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines is like Resident Evil 5. It's still enjoyable. It still has some of the heart of what made the franchise good, but it's starting to go a little bit too far. And then everything after that is bad. Not that's a bad analogy because Resident Evil turns it around eventually, but like it completely loses focus after Terminator 3. And I was excited for Salvation in 2009 because I remember seeing the future war scenes and stuff like that from this film and be like, man, what if they made a whole movie about this? Well, they did, with Christian Bale, who was like the biggest actor in the world at the time, and it sucked.
Oh, you know what?
Really bad.
I did hear some fucking rumblings about them, like, and you know, I'll get to. I don't know if we're gonna cover the other ones in the future. Maybe, maybe not. Well, but I'll watch them. I did hear some fucking rumblings about them, like, digitally de-aging Arnie and then having old Arnie fight young Arnie.
Yeah, that was in Genesis. Yeah.
Well, it's worth fucking watching just from the sound of it, but
I haven't seen that movie like all the way through, but I heard it was a shit show. And it was Linda Hamilton's return to the franchise after T2. She hadn't been seen since T2.
You're giving me all the fucking bad.
I'm giving all the what?
Everything you like about this movie, it goes to shit.
I mean, Terminator and Terminator 2 as standalone, like a movie and then its sequel, are incredible. And then Terminator 3, I can say, like, it's kind of... There's some stuff there that's good, and then there's a lot of stuff there that's not so good.
Off and fuck the rest of them, basically.
Basically. As soon as James Cameron isn't involved, it turned into a mess. And, but yeah, like, this movie is so fucking good. I was peacocking about it in the fucking Screen Sermon chat earlier this morning because I was watching it to prep for the episode. And I was just thinking, like, God, I fucking love this movie. And it's been so long since I've watched it for no reason. I just, no real reason to sit down and view it because I'm not thinking about it. But man, like, it's such a good movie. It's no wonder it got immortalized in the Library of Congress and stuff like that. Like, they wanted to preserve it and stuff like that as culturally significant and all that kind of stuff. It's fucking amazing. And it's just funny that in interviews back then, related to like Conan the Destroyer, I think, people were asking him like, well, what's this other movie you're tied to? And at the time, Arnold was saying like, yeah, it's just some like shitty little movie we're doing. And it turned out to be like probably, if not the most significant film, or at least franchise, that Arnold ever ended up being a part of. It's awesome. I mean,
before, and I hadn't even seen it.
Right. It's what most people, I would say, know Arnold for. I mean, Predator, sure. Commando, sure. Conan, sure, maybe. But I mean, everybody knows Terminator.
Yeah.
Like, Predator's about the Predator. So you may or may not remember that Arnold's in that. But Terminator is about Arnold. He's the Terminator.
Well, it has a point in its favor for him being the titular character.
It's true. I mean, it's honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if people were like, Predator, like, again, like talking about the layperson, like the character that Arnold plays in Predator could be very easily mixed up with the character that he plays in Commando, for example. Because to me, they're both like jungle action shoot 'em up movies. So you could easily just like, yeah, he was in Commando. I don't remember being in Predator, but he is in both of those movies. But like, this was just such a defining performance for him, and he went full hog into this. Like, he went hard into this.
Full hog.
Outstanding. But I mean, like, he did all the gun training and stuff, like how to disassemble firearms and reassemble them, and he could do it blindfolded and all this shit. Like, he did the training so that he looked natural holding weapons. And he did hours and hours and hours of range training so that he could fire weapons without flinching and blinking, because a machine wouldn't flinch. That's fucking crazy. But it is such an amazing little detail that you probably wouldn't even really notice. But then when you go back and you think about it, it's fucking awesome. And how much does that add to the character of, like, he doesn't flinch when he fires weapons because he's a fucking machine. It's so cool. I love that. I love it. And he, during one of the first battle scenes with Kyle Reese, he ends up in a fiery situation and has his hair fucked up, and he gets his eyebrows burned off, and he actually shaved his eyebrows and took out a Lloyd's of London insurance policy on his eyebrows in case they didn't grow back properly. That's fucking crazy.
I didn't
But
realize
it's
that he actually shaved him. I thought that they just fucking blocked him out.
He full bore shaved his eyebrows off, and the rest of the film he doesn't have eyebrows.
Well, you could have just blocked him out.
It's fucking crazy. Like the amount of dedication that was put into, like, I want to be a machine. I want to come off as a machine.
Like fucking, because I thought that they not only were they blocked out, but I thought he had fucking prosthetics on. But he just has such a heavy brow.
Oh god, yeah, he's got Cro-Magnon forehead for days. If he was out on a sunny day, only his forehead would get a tan because his brow would shade the rest of his face.
It's like a natural umbrella.
His lips and his nose would be safe just from everything. Like when it rains, the bottom half of his face doesn't get wet.
That's amazing.
What did you think about Linda Hamilton as a leading lady?
Yeah, that's, it really surprised me because I was expecting a fucking Ellen Ripley situation where you have this badass character being a badass, and then very submerged by the fact that we have an average Joe protagonist, or average Jane in this case, I think. Yeah, because she was just a woman who happened to be named Sarah Connor. Yeah. To be third in the phone book, which, by the way, is hilarious that Arnie fucking is the Terminator's going through the phone book like, alright, I don't know which one it is, but I'm just gonna start fucking killing them all and go down the list.
Well, I like that they explained why, Skynet or Cyberdyne, I forget which one. One of their
records.
Yeah, their records got destroyed, so they weren't sure exactly which Sarah Connor it was. So he's just procedurally going through the phone book and killing all the Sarah Connors, which is cool. And kind of sets the movie up in the beginning where it was almost kind of like it had a vibe about it where it was like a true crime. Like they made a film about a true crime thing. And Lance Henriksen's character, who, by the way, this is probably the worst character I've ever seen Lance Henriksen play. Him and what's his name? Traxley, I think, is the lieutenant's name, the kind of main cop. And they're calling him like the phone book killer or something like that. There's kind of this like police procedural thing.
That whole subplot lost me.
Yeah. It gets thrown out the window pretty quickly though. But in the beginning, they're definitely setting it up where it's like, have you ever seen Cobra with Sylvester Stallone?
I have not.
Okay, so there's it's about Sly Stallone as I don't remember if he's even a cop in that or what the fuck he's supposed to be. But anyway, there's a serial killer. I might be mixing up movies now. Shit, I've seen too many fucking movies. Anyway, I think there's a serial killer named Scorpio. And he was supposed to be based on the Zodiac, right? That was kind of the influence for the character. And I feel like that's kind of like the same vibe they were going for in the beginning there, where it was, like I said, it's like this true crime thing where they're trying to make him out to be a serial killer, the phone book killer. But there's too many of these like big action set piece moments that they throw in there where that's what really takes you out of that horror piece and puts you into the sci-fi action piece. But it's this really fun blend between the two styles. And I love the guerrilla filmmaking that was employed there. I read it was a $6.4 million budget, by the way. I did look that up. And I know that what's his name? Greenberg, I think, is the DP on this. Employed a lot of handheld cameras when it came to action scenes, because that's what really makes you feel like you're in it, like physically, is to do that kind of handheld, and it's more, more mobile and can kind of track the action very well. And then the other side of it that I know is a very tense set to work on, because they didn't always have permits to film where they were filming, and so it was like, we need to get this shit in before daylight, because then the cops are going to come and stop us and shut us down. And so there was a lot of stuff like that where like they were up against the clock and things like that. So I don't know. I think that adds a vibe to it that helps the movie out quite a bit. And I love this flick. I think it's really, really good. I do think the sequel is superior. I think that T2 takes everything that Terminator did and just turns it up to 11, and it's fucking incredible. And I can't wait to talk to you about it next week. But it had to start somewhere, and this is just an amazing movie for it to have kind of kicked off this franchise. And it does suck that the franchise kind of takes a turn for the worst.
The police procedural stuff, it did lose me. I was way less interested in that, but it did make sense as far as world building goes, because if somebody's out here murdering people with the same name, that's going to get news attention. I mean,
sure.
There was a fucking report going on when they were in the diner that said Sarah Connor and Sarah J. Connor are both killed. We don't know if there's a connection, but they were both shot. And then they're joking, and our Sarah Connor's like, fuck, because she was already on it when the first Sarah Connor was dead.
Right.
She was like, and then she checks the phone book and sees that she's the third one, and she's like, fuck this, and there we go. They're off for the races.
And then exactly, and then she's hiding out at fucking Tech Noir, the dance club, and all this other stuff. I mean, there's so many great environments in here. There's so many great settings in this movie. Most of the action takes place at night, which kind of adds a vibe to it. There's a lot of car stuff in here. There's a lot of car stunts. There's a lot of fire stunts. I personally love the shootout in the parking garage when they're trying to hide out in a parked vehicle, and you get a lot of exposition during that scene. And then Arnold, or rather the Terminator, having stolen a police car, is kind of creeping around and trying to find them and stuff like that. And they end up driving on parallel lanes across from each other in this parking garage and just firing at each other with pretty heavy weapons and stuff like that. But it just felt like, and this is weird, but it felt like a jousting scene from like an old medieval film. There was just something about that. Like they're on opposite sides of this line. They really can't get at each other, but it's just this kind of like, it's still this competition between the two of them. And I don't know. This movie does it for me, man. I like it a lot. I love the fucking music. The Terminator theme is incredible. Up to and including its use today, like Kenny Omega in the wrestling world uses it. And he pounds.
Used in Stranger Things too.
Oh, did they? I must have missed that entirely.
And who the fuck did the score for this? Is it somebody that I would know?
I don't know. I'll get it up for you because I'm not sure.
Don't bother. You're gonna fucking ruin the pot again.
The DP's name is Adam Greenberg. Is familiar to me, but I don't know why. The music is by Brad Fiedel.
That doesn't ring any bells.
He has written for film and television, become well known for his collaborations with James Cameron on Terminator T2 and True Lies. He uses a lot of synthesizers, according to this.
That's another thing. Fucking James Cameron. I have a love-hate relationship with his movies.
It's the hate.
I don't like Avatar.
I fucking hate Avatar. I'm with you on that. Okay. Yeah.
Because I think just to shit on Avatar for a second.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I think Avatar is a future pod. This is going to be the fucking We Bitch episode. In the far future, because I have no interest in watching those until at least the third one comes out, where it will have an audience. But visually impressive, very visually impressive, and that's where my compliments end. That's
it. That's all it's got.
It's beautiful.
It's fucking. It's gorgeous.
The script is the script is fucking terrible.
Oh, it's so basic shit. It's such basic shit. And then it's a Fern Gully film
with guns.
with guns in it. It's got some people I like in it. Like, I love Sigourney Weaver, for example.
A very on the nose Native American inspired film.
Well, yeah, and very much like Greenpeace kind of environmentalist thing, save the trees kind of stuff.
And also, there's going to be, I'm sure people disagree, but I think that if you're trying to tell this story about, the situation with the Native Americans and how what happened was fucked up, making them not people.
Yeah. Giant blue cat creatures.
Making them bizarre looking not people is, counterproductive.
Well, and just like taking like Marines who we should all be rooting for and turning them into heels. It's like, this sucks. I don't want to root against the Marines. Like, isn't there some other way you can do this without me kind of turning on the Marines? But
I think those are my fucking downs for Cameron. I'm trying to remember all the shit that he's done, because he did Titanic, and Titanic's a great movie, albeit fucking long as shit.
Very, yes. True Lie's fun. It's a good movie. Overly
so. He did fucking... What the fuck did he do?
Aliens?
Aliens, and I think
fucking
he did
awesome.
The first Piranha movie that Joe Dante didn't do.
So he was attached to Piranha 2, The Spawning, and then he was fired from the production.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Because I know he worked on whichever one that Joe Dante didn't.
Yeah. He was on the second one, and then he was directing the second one. He ended up getting fired. As a matter of fact, Paramount wanted to pick up the Terminator, but they had stipulations in the contract that said James Cameron cannot direct. I think there was a little bit of people didn't like him as a director so much back then. And he had sold the script to his producer, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, he sold the script to her for $1. And he was basically like, this is all in good faith because I want to direct the movie. And he left it in her hands that she would not turn it over to some studio that wouldn't let him direct. And she didn't, because Paramount said they wanted to make it, but they didn't want him to direct it, and she said no. So, and his career was born.
It sucks that half of James Cameron's fucking filmography in the future is going to be all Avatar movies, because it got renewed to fucking 5 movies.
But it's just bizarre, because the first one came out, and then the second one took 11 years.
Yeah, and then he was like, fucking 3 more are coming.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? What happened in the middle there? Like, what did he make in the last 11 years? What did James Cameron work on that I'm not thinking of?
I don't think anything. I think it was Avatar.
He just fucking...
Because Avatar made so much money, he was like, well, I'm set for a while. It's the highest grossing movie of all time at one point.
Yeah, I still haven't watched the second one. I've heard it's just like the first one. It's basically the first one.
I didn't watch the second one because I didn't care for the first one.
I didn't either. That's why I didn't watch the second one. I was like, I don't fucking care. It's just, and that's where I am. I'm like, you know what? If we ever get to the point where it's like they're sending us screeners to review, then I'll watch your fucking movie. I'll watch your movie excitedly because it's part of my job. But yeah, I mean, until then, it's all based on just my likes and dislikes and how much time I have. And I didn't like the fucking first one, so I haven't gone out of my way to watch the second one.
I'll watch all 3 of them when the third one comes out.
There you go.
Till then,
fucking do it. Yeah, till then, I don't fucking care. So, like I was saying, I love the Terminator all the way down to stuff like the music. I think the music is incredible. I didn't notice tons of stuff about cinematography other than I did absolutely pick up on the handheld. during action scenes, and it worked for me because I thought it was very immersive. I love even when we're getting to the sex scene and stuff like that, they play the same fucking theme. It's still the Terminator theme, but it's this very tender version of it. Like, they kind of fucking slow it down for you. And then I immediately started thinking in my mind about Kyle Reese and just thinking of him as the Tendernator. And I couldn't get that term out of my head. I was like, fucking Tendernator, getting it done. Tendernator's making plastic explosives. Fucking Tendernator's sacrificing himself for Sarah Connor.
The antithesis of the Terminator.
Yeah, I did the complete option.
Terminator versus Tendernator. Book it.
Book it. I'm there, man. That's a main event anywhere in the country. So yeah, Kyle Reese, the Tendernator, was born for me during this viewing of the Terminator, and I fucking loved it. I thought it was great. But yeah, I mean, did you know that Sarah Connor's character was supposed to be 18 years old in this film?
No.
Isn't that insane?
She was working at a diner. That's the only fucking thing that possibly would make you think that, but anybody can work in a fucking diner.
Yeah, that fits. And evidently in the novelization, she's attending college courses also. So that would have fit a little bit more. Like, it still wouldn't have necessarily said 18, but it might have put us in the right kind of age frame. Evidently, Kyle Reese is supposed to be 21 also, which he doesn't read as 21.
No, not at all.
And Linda Hamilton was 27 at the time of filming, so she does not read as 18. She doesn't come off as 18.
I think they both read fucking late 20s, early 30s.
Yep. That's kind of where I was at, too. Which is funny, because when you meet up with them in T2, you know, they kind of refer to her age and stuff like that, and they stay true to it, because, you know, John is supposed to be X amount of years old in T2.
And she's fucking 40.
So it's yeah, he had a hard time, you know, being the being the son of the fucking savior of the human race. But yeah, man, I mean, and father. I was the father and the son. He's God. But isn't that always kind of what this fucking film franchise has been about, is John Connor is God? I feel like it is.
At this moment, I'm sure there's... I'm blanking on an example, but there's some films and books and shows where you constantly have this person being fucking mentioned over and over and over again. The only thing I could think of off the top of my head is fucking Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin, and...
The first thing that came to mind for me was... the first one that came to mind for me was Supernatural.
Yeah, where they keep fucking talking about this big bad over and over and over again. But
I'm not see him for the longest time.
Yeah, I'm not far enough in that show to get a payoff to that.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
It's fine.
I was hot on it for like 11 seasons, and then I had to leave it.
Yeah, that's my wife's favorite show, and I'm still on season 1. So,
I mean, you're still right there in the pocket, man. The first like 5 are really good.
Yeah, it's just fucking X-Files.
Yeah, and so, you know, full disclosure, and I've talked to you before about this, and now the Screen Sermon audience can hear me say it. I haven't seen X-Files. So
yeah, if I could figure out a way to make TV shows work, then fuck, watching X-Files.
Then you would fucking say Boon needs to see X-Files. There you go.
It's a fucking 3-day long episode, one cut. We're sitting here and we're gonna go over the entire fucking 5 months worth of X-Files in one show.
There you go. How long is the series? Do you know off the top of your head?
Very fucking long.
It's long? Okay. And I know there was movies too.
This probably isn't right, but I want to say 13 seasons.
Fucking hell.
Including upcoming revival, and there was a break. I think X-Files got stopped at season 11, and then it came back recently for 2 seasons. I don't know.
There's movies, though. Could I watch the movies and not the show? Or would that be...
I wouldn't.
Okay. Alright. Fair enough. We'll talk about X-Files another day. Let's Let's get back to fucking Terminator. There's a lot of little moments in here. There's a lot of characters. There's lots of stuff that ends up kind of getting either retouched on or kind of it's like a little Easter egg kind of thing that kind of comes up in T2 or later on in the franchise and things like that. It's just kind of funny.
I hope some stuff comes back up, like when well, for one, and I wrote maybe like 5 notes for this whole fucking thing before I decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna do this off the cuff because I want to watch the movie and I don't want to be taking notes the whole time.
Yeah.
Which I'm starting to do more and more as the show goes on.
I feel like I'm way better when I do that.
Yeah. When fucking Kyle Reese first teleports into the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's naked and everything, and he has a moment with this homeless man where he like takes his clothes and the fucking 2 police show up to stop him, and he starts reading. They go, "He's rabbiting." You know what the fuck does that mean? And then immediately followed by, "That son of a bitch took my pants." The fuck is rabbiting?
Looked like it had rabbiting, running. I guess I don't know.
It was fucking... that moment, and during the fucking movie, you get introduced to Sarah Connor. Another introduction. In fact, every introduction had something about it that made me laugh. Arnie fucking hanging dong, walking up to these like fucking punk kids, and I think he ripped his heart out. Is what it looked
that
like.
one dude, he definitely did.
And then he fucking kills 2 of them, and the other one's just like, "Here, take it."
By the way, one of the lead punker was played by fucking Bill Paxton.
No shit.
Yeah, and he of course ends up working with James Cameron again and being a very prominent character in Aliens in '86, 2 years later.
Didn't notice that at all. But we get introduced to Linda Hamilton's character, Sarah Connor, and she's being a shitty waitress.
She's really bad.
And fucking this asshole kid takes his fucking scoop of ice cream and just places it in her apron.
Yeah, her fucking apron pocket. He just drops that whole scoop of ice cream in there. What a dickhead. Terminator should have shot that kid. Dark? A little dark.
Also, the fact that there's a fucking there's a busy ass restaurant, and then she goes to this like, I don't know, this break room, and there's 2 other waitresses just sitting on their ass watching TV with their feet fucking.
Yeah, what the fuck? What was that about?
There's
like, we're dying out there.
From
could have used you.
Yeah, from a former, having a job like that situation goes. I was like, what the fuck to work?
Yeah. I could use you out there. I'm fucking dying out there. People are asking for coffee. I'm getting orders wrong. Like, I need help.
I think every introduction was well done. Of the 3 main characters. And I would argue there are 3 main characters.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Fuck the police. Sorry,
yeah, they're definitely... That's...
Although, my favorite scene in the whole movie is when he's like, I'm a friend of Sarah Connor, because he's got the intelligence to know that this is what I should probably say in order to get in to see her. And the cop is like, pretty much like, fuck off. And he was like, okay, I'll be back. And I was like, oh, hey, there's the line. And then he crashes a fucking car in there. He just kills every goddamn cop in there. It was Jesus fucking Christ.
I love that, and I love that he kind of takes in the structure of the building before he goes out and does it. Like, he looks around the entire enclosure that the guy is behind the glass and stuff like that. And you can tell he's like scanning it or whatever the hell he's doing as a cyborg. Yeah. But yeah, evidently him and Jim Cameron had a big argument about the line "I'll be back," because he was saying, effectively, I'm a machine. Why would I use "I'll" instead of "I will"? And James basically told him, like, I don't tell you how to act, so don't tell me how to write. And like, they got in a big argument about it. And of course, it's now this huge iconic phrase. And so I think since then, Arnold has walked that whole thing back and been like, I was wrong. But like, at the time, like I said, he took a real stance on like, look, if I'm going to play a machine, like I want to do all this stuff with the training, and I want to make sure that I come off very machine-like. And I give it up to Arnold for all the work that he put into this. Yeah, it's incredibly well done.
That was one of a couple, because it's got some funny scenes in it. Like
it does,
and all the funny scenes sort of give you a little bit more insight in how the Terminator works. Like, he's in this, what is it, a fucking apartment building?
Yeah, it's a shitty apartment. Yeah,
somebody, their landlord or cleaner, whichever, is like, the fuck, something dying there, and he's scanning all the possible responses, and he settles on "go fuck yourself," basically.
There's like a fucking BioWare game going through his dialogue tree, like all the options he had.
Ends up
fuck you, asshole. Yeah. He was going for like the renegade route on that one.
And I love that was chosen to be the fucking most appropriate answer.
And the guy accepted it. He was like, yeah, alright. And just moved on.
Yeah, it's a program.
Fuck you, asshole. And so, yeah, I just... and like you said, there's a lot of comedy bits in here, like when we get introduced to Sarah Connor's roommate's boyfriend, Matt, and he's like trying to phone sex her because he thinks he's got Ginger on the phone, but it's actually Sarah, and she's just listening to him talk about all the shit. And then as soon as she hands the phone over to Ginger and like, sorry, it's Matt, it's for you, or whatever, he starts from the beginning. That popped me. Like, I laughed really hard at that. I was like, that was fucking funny. That was a clever little piece of writing.
A lot of fucking phone books in the fucking every phone has a goddamn phone book right next to it, and I'm too young to know if that was the norm, but I was like, well, that's convenient.
It was definitely normal. I mean, I can say that, like, in my home growing up, we had a phone book in the cabinet. So, like, we had a corner cabinet that also functioned as kind of an end table on one side of the couch, and the phone was on that table. Well, that table had a door that opened underneath, and in that door there was a phone book, and it was just kind of the norm to have it close by.
I mean, I had a phone book growing up too, never fucking used it, but you know, I recognized their use. I just didn't know that they were available in like public places. I thought that was something that you, and I'm showing my age here. I thought that was something that like got delivered to you for personal use.
Yeah. I remember specifically leafing through the white pages because we were always looking for like mechanics or somebody to do the yard work or some shit like that. I remember always going through because the white pages were business related, and then the yellow pages were everybody's personal phone numbers.
Yeah, now it's all it still exists, it's just all digital, and also not as much use for it anyway because of Google Maps,
right?
And just being able to fucking search shit in search engines.
Sure. That's
my random fucking anecdote about phone books.
I mean, we've touched on a lot of shit on tonight's episode.
It was worth bringing up because, you know, it's something that I noted being... it was more so I had a question about, like, is that the norm? Because I was not alive in 1984.
I mean, I wasn't either, but I can say that when I was growing up, it was the norm to have a phone book close by to the phone in your house.
And also a whole gun situation where, by the way, another awesome fucking scene where he goes to purchase his firearms from a fucking shop, and they're showing off all these guns. By the way, the fucking I think it was a pawn shop actually.
I think it was like a sporting goods, like not sporting goods, but like an actual like guns and ammo store.
Oh, I could have sworn it ended up being a pawn shop because I thought I had that moment where I was like, is that a fucking pawn shop that he's getting guns from?
It might have been, but they had a whole arsenal in there.
Frequent Joe Dante collaborator Dick Miller played the fucking Dick
Miller.
I love him as an actor.
I love Dick Miller.
And He's like, oh, so you got 3-day waiting period on handguns, but you can take the rifles now. I'm like, what the fuck sense does that make?
So I can have the shotgun and the rifle and all this other shit.
Uzi.
Right, but I got it. Well, I thought the Uzi was also one of the handguns, though.
Oh, does that qualify as handgun?
I think so, because it's like a fully automatic 9mm handgun, but it has a shoulder stock on it, so that you can account for recoil and shit like that. But I think it's still considered a handgun.
All right, that's fine. But then he still has a shotgun and rifles, and he could just walk out of there with it. And he doesn't even utter a word, but just fucking points the gun at him and just blows him away.
He shoots his ass. Yep.
The Sarah Connor being killed was all over the news, but fuck the gun shop owner.
Yeah, fuck him. He's probably a sleazy asshole anyway. Like Gideon from The Crow.
It's a Dick Miller character, so they usually are. Even in fucking Gremlins, he was, I liked him as a character, but very racist.
Fuck, I just thought about it. Also, another thing that I wanted to praise Arnold for. He trained himself to be able to use firearms ambidextrously. Because it's another thing a machine would be able to do. A machine wouldn't be right or left-handed. It would be able to do it either way, because it's a machine. He trained himself to do it.
You keep seeing him being officially listed as a cyborg, but wouldn't he be more of an android and not a cyborg? Because he's not half human. He's just a robot that happens to have biological shit on the outside. Which, wouldn't that be more of an android than a cyborg?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, he's completely... he's metal alloy endoskeleton with living tissue on the outside. Isn't an android a completely synthetic creature, including its outer shell, which is made to look like skin, but it's not?
I don't know.
We're getting back into fucking hashtag gynoid territory here.
Are there any fucking female Terminators?
Yes.
No,
yes, there are.
Alright, we might have to touch on this franchise in the future just to fucking be able to use that hashtag again. Is it in T2?
Man. No.
Of course not, because it's good. Anyway.
Yes.
Fuck.
So, I don't know. Whatever notes you may have, of course, please get to them. But what I want to get from you is like definitive. I want to hear like not a rating necessarily, but just like, what did you think of it? Like, this has been this movie that's been built up for a long time. The movie's fucking 40 years old this year, which is insane. What did you think of it?
I mean, I throw out numbers, but they're sort of arbitrary. They could change based on mood and everything. Sure. I gave it an 8 out of 10. It was basically, I mean, I went into it expecting a straight up action sci-fi flick. I got that, but it was also, I would say, first and foremost sci-fi, but then right behind it, it's just as much a horror movie as it is an action movie. I watched it and I went, well, this is a fucking slasher film. Just swap out Jason with a fucking robot and swap out a machete with a gun, and you just have a Friday the 13th movie.
Yep.
I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, the fact that the foot soldiers for the machine army and stuff in the future that they refer to as HKs, they're hunter killers. And I know Terminator units are supposed to be different, but it's a perfect way to describe it. Like, it's a hunter-killer movie. He's stalking this woman and trying to kill her and killing everybody that gets in his way. It's a perfect formula for a horror flick. And, it's very 80s, which has a vibe to it, of course, that lends to slashers. The music and the synth stuff and all that kind of stuff very much.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Yes. And really, it's only when we start getting to the car chases and the explosions and the shootouts and stuff like that does it start to lean the other way. But there's very much like the first half of this movie definitely feels more like a horror flick, and then it starts to go that other side. And even then, like when the endoskeleton reveals itself and it's stalking them through the factory and stuff, like that's scary. It's scary shit. We're kind of back out of the action territory anymore, and it's now just trying to survive, getting away from the killer. But yeah, I love this fucking movie. I really dig it.
I'm sure we'll touch on it in the second movie, but I am curious to know more about how this happened and the background for Skynet, because it was very vague, and I didn't expect it to be in this first movie.
Yeah, evidently, Jim Cameron had a very robust script initially for this film, and he knew that no studio would ever give him the money to make it because he wasn't anybody yet. And so he cut it in half effectively and just made it about a single Terminator and a single human being sent back, because before it was there were multiple Terminators, there were multiple humans. One of the Terminators was, had abilities that were completely outside the scope of technology at the time. And there was a lot more focus on like the war in the future and stuff like that. So Jim Cameron ended up just cutting the script in half and saying like, we're going to save this shit. And in the future, if this movie makes money and they want me to make another one, I'll have a sequel already set up.
Is T2 the second half of that original script?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's fucking amazing.
They
It's so
did a
good.
good enough job setting up like how fucked the world was, because I think the first shot of the movie was this big ass tank running over a bunch of fucking skulls.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
So good. That's what I mean. Like, you see this dystopian future where the machines have taken over and it's this war that's taking place between mankind and the machine world and stuff like that. You're like, God, I would watch that movie. And then, like I said, unfortunately they made it, and it sucks. It sucks really bad. And
sometimes it's better to not, to not delve as far, because there's a reason why. First example that pops in my head: Elder Scrolls. You jump into the game and they tell you, hey, all this shit happened. Here's a bunch of lore. But while it's fun to read about and everything and explore like the ruins and everything of what happened, it'd be way less fun to be there firsthand as a part of it, because the aftermath is what you want, not the act itself.
That's fair. Yeah, it kind of lends credence to the like never meet your heroes kind of thing. But of course, like if your heroes were
another example, and fucking another example is Star Wars 4 or 1, depending.
Yep.
A New Hope, right? All this
That's
shit
4
happened,
to me, but yes,
all
I
this
understand
shit
what you
happened,
mean.
right? And you're like, okay, now I get to see the backstory of why all this shit happened in the prequel trilogy, and most people are like, nope, didn't need to see that.
But you know what? Compared to the sequel trilogy, I would happily watch the prequel trilogy.
Well, I'm a prequel trilogy fan.
You're a what trilogy fan?
The prequel trilogies?
Yeah,
of Star Wars?
I have no disrespect toward anybody who says I like the prequels. I'm like,
Those
sweet.
are my favorites.
Sounds good. Because to me, that's the second best trilogy in the Star Wars universe, because the sequel trilogy was fucking dog shit. So
the reason why I prefer it is because I fucking grew up with that trilogy.
Yeah, it was of your time. That makes sense.
And
and I grew up kind of out of time, because the prior trilogy was before my time, and the prequel trilogy happened a little bit too late for me, because I was 13 when Phantom Menace came out.
What year was that?
99.
I was 1.
Yeah.
But I still grew up with it, because I was getting all the figures and everything from a young age, and fucking 7-Eleven had these fucking cups that my dad would collect and bring home. And my dad was a original trilogy fan, so me and him would bond over it. So me and him would bond over the prequel trilogy. For me, because it's my first exposure to this franchise, and for him, because he's enjoying a franchise he already likes with his son.
Absolutely.
That's my defense for the prequel trilogy. And also, Darth Maul kicks ass.
Darth Maul's amazing. Ray Park fucking killed it. He was amazing.
And Palpatine's also awesome. And the fucking TV show, the animated one, the Clone Wars, fucking awesome.
Incredible show. Jar Jar Binks, sure, I could do without it. This whole nonsense about like the Trade Federation, sure, could do without it. But there's a lot of good shit in the prequel trilogies that's worth talking about and worth rewatching. Can't say the same about the sequel trilogy.
I haven't seen a single one of those.
They aren't
They have
fucking good.
no interest.
They are not fucking
And it
good.
sucks because I'm curious because Adam Driver's in it.
Yeah, I like him, but he is in some bad movies. He's in some bad shit. But anyway,
that all being said,
another day.
I think we fucking. All right.
I think we covered it. Is what you're getting at?
I was gonna say, are we gonna do a fucking needs to see for the fucking Star Wars shit? Did we ever do
today.
the first Star Wars episode?
No, we did not. It was supposed to be Ellie. Ellie was supposed to be on it with Brandy and Wobbert, and that ended up not happening. So it's still out there as a possibility.
Put it on May 4th. See if happens to be a Sunday.
That would be cool. But yeah, I just and going back to the Terminator thing, like I don't think it's a thing where we need to break it down too much, like scene by scene and stuff. Like, go watch the flick if you've never seen it. It's incredible. It's got some amazing set piece action moments and things like that are great. And like I said, I think Kyle Reese makes for a great protagonist to root for, and he's kind of like the everyman. He's a soldier. He's a very unrefined one. But yeah, try not to get too deep into the time travel shit, because then you give yourself a headache trying to think about, like, Kyle trained Sarah, but Sarah trained John, who trained Kyle. So how the fuck does that make any sense? So yeah, like, try not to think about that too much.
It's also worth saying before because I think we're wrapping this up. I think we did a pretty good job of covering this without you. I can see you biting your tongue, trying not to spoil the second one for me.
Yeah, I really don't want to give shit away for the second one, because it sounds like you've done a good job of avoiding information about the second one.
I
So
know
I'm like,
the.
oh
like,
yeah, it's the. And then I have to stop myself.
Some of the hits, like the pop culture references, because it's so ingrained. The fucking "Come with me if you want to live" I thought was from Arnie.
Yep.
And it might still be, because I have a feeling that's one of the things that comes back. And I know the fucking ending of T2 with the thumb.
Okay. The thumb, yeah, everybody knows about the thumb. Sure.
Like, just because it's referenced so much in other media.
Yeah. But now you'll get the context, like you'll get more out of it and stuff. So I'm excited for you to see it. I'm really fucking jazzed to talk next week about T2. It's gonna be fun.
To close this out for anyone watching, and I think it's about to leave, so you might want to hurry the fuck up, but it's available currently on Max.
What? Wait, what? T2?
No, well, T1.
I watched T1 on Paramount.
It's not even listed as on Paramount on what I fucking used to find out what it's streaming on.
And the problem is you and I live in different states.
Does that matter? T2 is on Paramount. It says T1 is on Max.
We've run into this shit before. So for me, Terminator is on Paramount, T2 is on Max. It's very strange.
I don't think the states matters. I think
it shouldn't, because we're all the same region, right? We're region 2 because we're in North America.
We're also only fucking 2 hours away from each other.
Well, that's also true. We're on the same coast, same time zone. I don't know. I don't fucking know. You also have certain things on some of your streaming platforms that are unlocked and not behind a paywall, and for me, they are.
I also fucking sail the high seas, and I think that's common information at this point, because I've said up front that I'm not going to pay for a million fucking streaming services. I will watch your movie if you make it easy for me to do so.
Yeah.
And I'm also a big supporter of physical media. So while I will fucking do the thing that I do, also, like, I'm gonna, if I happen to see Terminator out on the wild on Blu-ray, I'm gonna fucking pick that shit up, because I don't own it yet, now that I've seen the movie.
Well, and I bet the special features and shit on that are absolutely worth a watch. I would love to watch this movie with a commentary track, because I'd love to hear them talk about some of the technical shit in there.
The first DVD I ever bought with my own money, I'm pretty sure it was T2. Because I bought it for my dad for Father's Day at Blockbuster.
Okay.
It was that one, it was the slip cover where the whole fucking outside looks like it's metal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know exactly the one you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the first DVD I ever paid for with my own money. Like, I used my allowance to buy my dad it for Father's Day because he didn't have T2.
That's awesome.
So that's my little personal connection to that movie, which I'll probably forget that I said and then bring it up again in the next episode.
Yeah, bring it up. What the hell? Question. Does your dad listen to the show?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I was just curious.
My mom
It's
does.
fucking irrelevant. Your mom does?
Yeah. He might, because I know he listens to podcasts at work. And if he doesn't listen to my podcast, I'm going to be pretty fucking pissed.
That's pretty fucked up, yeah. Like,
he was
support
here.
Me.
He was fucking here when I was recording at least 2 of them.
Yeah, I know he was around for the holidays and shit, so he must have been there.
Well, I didn't record for the holidays. I got taken off the rare exports due to other shit.
That's right.
But he's been.
What about Violent Night? Was he there for that?
I think that was right before he got here.
Okay.
Because I had
anyway,
COVID.
we're getting into some weird fucking not necessary shit.
But
anyway,
shit. Learn about where the fuck Josh's dad is.
All right, folks. Well, for the Screen Sermon podcast, this was our, not really review, I guess. I don't know. It's our chat. It's our kind of breaking down certain elements about the Terminator film from 1984 that I'm a fucking huge fan of, and it sounds like Josh really enjoyed it as well.
Yep.
And again, like as an effects man, I'm excited to talk to you about T2 next week, similar to how I was excited to talk to you about Terminator this week. So yeah, I mean, for now, we'll leave it as it is. Please give us some comments on the video on YouTube. Send us messages on X. Or, of course, you could always email us at screensermonpod@gmail.com. Again, that's screensermonpod@gmail.com. We want people's recommendations. We want your feedback. We want to know what movies you want us to cover. We're actually coming up on the end of our kind of booked out schedule that gets us through half of March. We're coming up on the point where it's like we've got about, I don't know, 10 to 12 episodes planned out ahead of us, and then after that is kind of a no man's land that we haven't decided yet. So if we could get some feedback from people to help fill that calendar out, that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, in the meantime, yeah, especially international flicks. We always try to do at least one foreign language film a month. In the middle of kind of like our arcs that we set up and our needs to see episodes and things like that, and our coming soons. If you have film recommendations, specifically foreign language, but really anything, film recommendations, things that you would like to see us cover on the show, please let us know in one of the formats that I mentioned before. So other than that, though, Josh, thanks for being on this week. It was a great episode, a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking about Terminator with you.
Thank you for having me, and watch Leo.
I won't. And thank you, folks, very much for listening, and we'll catch you next week when we talk about potentially the greatest action movie ever made, Terminator 2. So until then, have a great week.